Well, made it. 1 year on semen retention. And it's really unfathomable to think about all of the progress that I've made and that I would not have made if I probably would not have stuck through this whole entire process and journey. And for all of those that are asking in other semen retention videos, correct. Semen retention involves not having any kind of sexual relationship in that duration that you're on whatever cycle of semen retention you're on. So yes, in the last year, I have completely abstained from sexual relationships with women. Although I'm still talking to women, I'm not taking them on dates or anything like that. But I'm still working on my game. I'm still working on being more comfortable just around people in general and learning how to maneuver through I guess you could say, the psyche of the modern spirit, and collectively anyway. And the reason for that, and the biggest lesson that I've learned in this navigation process, is that men deserve better. If, and only if, they choose to start treating themselves as if they deserve better. And I've also learned that seduction itself is a form of power and it's very much like warfare. And I'm really interested in warfare. I'm really interested in seduction as well. And I'm also really interested in power and ambition. And I do not think that it is wrong of me to actually be interested in these things. I'm very interested in being a character of influence and power. However, how I go about that is completely different, I think, than most people. But I'm doing my best to make sure that every single day I am achieving certain goals and processes within my daily life to obtain and to reach that goal. And it reminds me of a verse in the Bible where in Matthew it says that the love of many will wax cold. And that's really the times that we live in, and that's really what I've also learned on this journey of retention as well over the last year. It's that, yeah, the world is getting colder. It is very cold out there. It is a landscape of insidious, treacherous, and diabolical deceit. That's really what it comes down to. I was at the coffee shop today getting some work done, and I haven't been to this coffee shop for quite a while. This is not my usual coffee shop that I go to, but I used to go here quite a bit a few years back, and during the pandemic, they had pretty much closed down altogether. They didn't even open up really the inside until about 2 or 3 years later, which was about, I guess, actually only a few months ago is when they actually opened up the indoors again. And so I went in there, and the people that came in were just so astonishing. It is so astonishing to look at these people. They were hanging. How do I say this without being a complete asshole? Fuck it. They were fat, ugly, green-haired, glass-wearing, like huge glasses that like just doesn't match their, like they look fake, They're super colorful and and revealing in their clothes. And I thought to myself, who the fuck wants to look at you? I really don't care to look at those fat people. I really don't care. And you know why? Like, I don't want to go out in the public space and have to look at your jiggly puff marshmallow gut hanging out, bouncing about as you get into the chair in front of me. And then you talk about how many Doritos bags that you ate last night. Like, what the fuck? That was just the craziest thing. And then they complain about not being able to find a good man. That was I would say that was the cherry on top, but first they had to put like 5 sundaes on there before they got to the cherry. But, you know, and I'm not trying to judge people, but at the same time, ugh. You know, like, when I was almost 200 pounds, I was well aware of the fact that I was 200 pounds. And there weren't a lot of people that generally like looking at 200-pound, 5'6", 5'7" men. And there's just not a lot. And then came in more people and more people, in and out over the course of 2 hours that I was there. And the proclivity that they had to absolutely have no care or thought for the people around them in regards to their conversation, in regards to their clothing, in regards to the perverseness of their conversation. You know, I am also reminded of a Bible verse in Amos, I think, where it says that there will not be a famine of food or of clothing or anything of the sorts, but of the word of God. And it was at that moment when I realized that I was the only godly person in that whole entire coffee shop. And immediately, I walked out. I got my stuff. I took a good look around, noticed that these are basically a bunch of demons around me. And I need to leave because this is not what I thought it was. This is not the place that it once was. And this is a fairly conservative place to live. Like, this is northern Utah that we're talking about. This is like Mormon Central. This is one of the reasons I live here, is because I thought that living in a state where that's not like the normal thing I would be surrounded by at least people that resemble more of my virtues and values. But I find that that's really not the case, apparently, at some of these coffee shops. And perhaps it is because Mormons don't drink coffee and a lot of Mormons don't go to coffee shops. But at the same time, also, it's like, you just look around and you think, damn, who could I trust in here? If y'all are going to be so easily persuaded by the ideologies of the masses, how the fuck am I supposed to trust any one of you with my life or with your votes or anything like that? And I'm not trying to make this about politics or anything, but those are the thoughts that definitely run through my mind, because I don't want to make this channel about politics. But I do think that it is an important part of our culture right now, understanding what's the actual inversion process of why politics are being just shoved into our society and where it goes as well. But something else I've noticed especially over the last few weeks with retention, I don't know what it is, but a bunch of married women and a bunch of women in relationships are trying to get my attention. Like they'll purposely walk by me and bend over and be like, oh, oops, oh, sorry, didn't see you there. Or they'll walk right in front of me and just wait for me to look at them or something while I'm lifting weights. And then there's a bunch of Jezebel spirits that are out there and about where they are like trying to captivate my attention through the exposure of their hypersexuality and promiscuity. And it's like, damn, like, that's all you can say. It's like, wow, what the hell is going on? Like, I don't feel like I belong here anymore. And if this is a fairly, like, supposedly conservative place, damn, I don't know what it's, I can't even imagine what it's like in California or anything like that. Like New York, holy shit, that would be insane. And so anyway, it's just like, wow, I'm really seeing the perverseness of society. And it's almost like you make people see themselves so clear when you're on retention. When you're on retention, it's like you are the godlike mirror reflecting back to this person in absolute truth and clarity of the situation and the reality of the present moment. And it's like they sometimes get really pissed off at you when they're the ones that are doing the wrong thing. Like married women trying to get the attention of other men. Honestly, I would say that's a form of cheating, right? Because men and women are different when it comes to how they attract their sexual partners. As Rollo Tomasi says, men are the salesperson and women are the advertisers or the billboards, right? The women make themselves a certain way and then get calls or get attention to the billboard, right? Whereas men have to sell who they are and like why they are sexually valuable to the relationship and how they can be this or that to the relationship and how they can add value, right? So when a woman is openly showing off her body or openly trying to get the attention of other men, to me, that is a form of cheating to one degree. And make no mistake, the Most High God will judge them. I will not, because that's not my place. However, I do have the discernment and the integrity and the actual morality and virtue to say, look, no, and I'll walk away. And it's so weird how women get turned on when you tell them no. Like it's so weird. There was one girl that I wouldn't say, like, cause here's another thing, right? Like women, when they don't want to talk to you, they'll do it very overtly, right? But men, when they don't want to talk to you, in regards to like sexual relationships, men will do that very, like covertly in one way, right? Like men will kind of weave their way out of the situation or just leave. Whereas women will be like, no, you're doing this and this and this, and I don't like that. And that's that. And, or they'll just say they have a boyfriend or something, right? Which we all know that's horseshit 90% of the time when they say that. When a woman really has a boyfriend, she's not going to try to get your attention in the first place, and she'll be a lot more capable of, quote unquote, letting you down easy. She's not, yeah. So that's really the differences, really, as well. But for some reason, over the past few weeks, like, the spiritual attacks have been increasing as well. And if anybody's familiar with succubus dreams or wet dreams on this journey, then they are also very aware that whenever you try to stop something, whenever you try to stop doing something, that's when the temptations come back tenfold. And recently, one of my goals is to attain absolute mental purity and peace with God as my first priority. And I encourage people to adopt that priority in their own lives, men and women alike, because that's how we help the cold people in this world be filled with love again, is giving them the opportunity to give themselves self-respect. And that's another thing I've learned a lot on this 1-year journey, is self-respect. Self-respect is so important to any kind of relationship, and respect is absolutely harmful when it's not present. Or disrespect is so harmful because it's not respect. And because if there's no respect present in a relationship of any kind, there's no possibility of love. Really, there's no possibility. Can you imagine trying to respect a man that is 35, 40 years old, smokes weed almost daily, plays video games maybe 3 to 4 hours a day, goes to a job, at a fast food store or anything like that, and he never even tried to chase his dreams? It's not like he's going through a rough patch, right? It's not like he started his own business, he was doing well, and now he's back at square one. It's that he's been like this for years. He's an old infant. Could any woman possible have respect for this man? I highly doubt it. Likewise, men will not respect women that are highly promiscuous, because men value purity. And what is promiscuous by my definition? Personally, for me, any woman that has more than 5 sexual partners, I consider promiscuous. And that's just my standard. You can adopt that or not, but to be quite honest, in modern day society, I'm not going to say that that's not realistic, because I do think that it's absolutely realistic. I do think that people are just so conformed to sexualizing themselves that they don't even know what it's like to not sexualize themselves. And so, yes, I can tell whenever a woman has a higher body count just by how she behaves. Especially over the last year of retention, I've been able to understand this phenomenon a lot more clear. It's not that a woman cannot show interest, because women, you're going to need to be aggressive and show interest, genuine burning desire in these men, if we are ever to have a committed relationship with you. If you're monkey branching, going from this guy to this guy, like, for example, this was another thing at the coffee shop. There was a girl that came in with a guy, sat next to me, and they went outside. It was like a 30, 45 minute meeting or whatever. It seemed like they were on a date. And she was dressed fairly like nice. It wasn't super provocative, but it was definitely like, this is a date, and that's fine. You want to look good on a date, right? And if a good coffee date is always nice too. I actually really like coffee dates. At least I have in the past. And because it's not a lot of money to spend on a first date, so it's not a lot of investment, but you get more of a genuine understanding of who the person is and what they're about. And so it's almost like Rich Cooper calls it the sniff test, right? Where you just kind of like, okay, what is this person about, kind of a thing. But anyway, about 30 or 45 minutes after they have their conversation, they walk out. The same lady comes back in, and she starts waiting at this table next to me again. And I thought that was kind of strange because she had gave the guy a hug and left. Another guy walks in. She's on another fucking date. Back to back. Do you know how fucking unattractive that is as a man to see? It's like, oh. So just the whole vibe of this coffee shop was just filled with demons. And I was just like, man, this place used to be cool. And then the pandemic happened, and it's just like, it's like a fart in the wind, man. Bummer. But anyway, over the past year of retention, it's been very clear to me on what's what and who's who. And as I've mentioned in another video on the semen retention, it's as if you're looking on the mountaintop and you can see the village. And people can climb the mountain if they want, but for some reason they choose not to. It's like you can have the discipline to do it. You can do it. If you get fed up with your life enough in the village to where you want to go see the world from a very, very, very clear perspective, you can just climb that mountain. It'll take a lot of discipline. It'll take a lot of endurance. It'll take a lot of fortitude of mind, but you can do it. And then they try to make excuses about why they can't, or it's like, you have to understand that life is a war, especially for men, not so much for women. I hope my woman is not living a life of war at all. I will be the one to carry that burden, but I will also choose a woman that I would go to war with, right? Because that's another thing that the Bible talks about when looking for a spouse or something, right? It's like choose someone that you would go to war with. And so overall, my connection to Jesus and my relationship to Jesus has increased tremendously. I feel closer to God and my fulfillment of life than I ever have, ever. My social anxiety is pretty much vanquished. I know I'm capable of sexual discipline to a high level and a high degree. I know that I can transmute my sexual energy into other places and other avenues of life that will further create the life that I want. I know that I'm capable of doing these things. I'm confident. I'm more confident in who I am and what I'm capable of. I'm more competent. I do genuinely believe that my thought process has increased, not just because of lifting weights and losing weight, but because of semen retention. It's not as muddy. It's not as cloudy. It's like I can think of the words much faster. And I'm actually, for somebody that has a YouTube channel, I'm actually not too much of a speaker. And I'm not too much of a a talker either. And honestly, there are days where I don't want to teach. There are days where I don't want to reach out. There are days where I don't want to do these videos. But it's not because I don't like what the content is about. It's just that I'm going through my own spiritual stuff. And so I'm doing my best to make sure that everybody here is getting what they need. But there are going to be times where I have to do my own thing. And I have to do my own, focus on my own spiritual ascension. And we all need to do that time to time. We have to do what we have to do, right? So with that being said, I hope this message was informative and useful and insightful to anybody on semen retention. I hope this video was also encouraging to anybody that is practicing semen retention. And no, this is not a semen retention channel. This is not really a channel on anything specifically, apart from empowering people to prosper spiritually, emotionally, and physically in their lives. And the way that we do that is by talking about things that need to be talked about. And semen retention is just one of those things. So with that being said, peace be with you. Till next time.